My dad picked this mound of okra this morning. I've washed it. I'm gonna cut it up and put it in the dehydrator to stick in jars and pull out to snack on. It's really good, really crunchy. It's really good as a snack, just as it is, or to throw into soups, or to throw into the oven with a little bit of olive oil and salt. This is actually about a quarter of that amount that I have over there by the sink. It's in a quart jar, but a quarter of that amount of okra condenses down to these little bitty small pieces. It's really good if you don't have a whole lot of free space to store things. It's easy to dehydrate. Seriously, try dehydrating some okra. Super yummy. Picked me some poblanos. I'm gonna mix up some stuff to stuff them with. Eat some for lunch and stick some in the freezer. These poblanos are going into the freezer to flash freeze, and then I'll put them in Ziploc bags to store them in the freezer. All I have to do is take them out. I can let them thaw, and then bake them in the oven a little bit, cover them with cheese, and they'll be good to go. Hi everybody. Today I'm going to talk about something that's really important. Caring for the tools that you use every day that are responsible and for a big part of being able to get what you need to get done. And we use cast iron a lot for our cooking. The only things I do not cook in cast iron are the tomato products and my eggs. I just have not mastered the art of frying an egg in a cast iron skillet. I also use a lot of wooden utensils. I use wooden spoons. My rolling pin is wooden cutting boards for cutting up meat. It's important to care properly for these things so that they last longer. During the summer months, I'm using these things a whole lot, but I don't have the time to devote to these to care for them and keep them up to par. So during the winter months and the early spring months, I really like to put a little bit of extra love into these things, which I'm going to show you today. Things are slowing down here, and I'm able to focus a little bit more on this. For your wooden products, I would recommend never putting these in the dishwasher. I hand wash these, and you're supposed to use an oil, mineral oil, or a spoon butter monthly. I don't do that during the summer month. I do that a lot during probably more than a month. Maybe twice a month. During the winter months, I do coat these in something. You want to make sure that they're clean and dry, and then we're going to rub some mineral oil or spoon butter, coating them and letting that oil soak into the wood. It just helps keep it longer. It's less likely for them to crack. And as far as our cast iron, I have set my oven to 375. There are several different types of oils you can use for these. Do your own research. Research the smoke points, research why you don't want your oils to reach the smoke point, and then choose what's best for you. I've used lard, I've used vegetable oil, I've used olive oil, and today I'm going to use shortening, just regular Crisco shortening, to coat with a paper towel my skillets, and then I'm going to set these. I've lined my bottom oven rack with some aluminum foil, and I'm going to set these just like this on the racks, and I'm going to let them bake for an hour at 375. Alright, I'm using mineral oil today to work my wooden utensils over. I think spoon butter might be simple enough to make, mixing some mineral oil and some beeswax. I just haven't done that yet. What I usually do is I lay the wooden utensil that I'm going to be doing, put a little bit of oil on a washcloth, and then just liberally rub oil on the utensils over my cutting board so that they catch some of the excess. Making sure to get all the places. You want to start with obviously clean utensils when you're doing this. And my cutting boards, I only use the wooden ones for my meat, cutting up meat, processing animals. And I know that there's some controversy about how clean it actually is. All I do to clean these is soap and water for the wooden utensils, the spoons, and the rolling pin. And then for the cutting boards, I wash in hot soapy water and a little tiny bit of bleach. And I feel pretty comfortable that since I'm using those specifically for meat, that they're okay. On to cast iron care. A little bit about how I care for my cast iron. When I buy it new, if I bought new, if I haven't found it at a yard sale, a lot of these are hand-me-downs and yard sale finds. If I purchase this at the store, most of them come as pre-seasoned, but what I have found is the seasoning just isn't enough to give it that good non-stick. What I do if I purchase them from a store or even a yard sale anywhere, I'm going to bring it home in hot soapy water, wash it. And then I'm going to it's going to be bone dry, and I'm going to season it in the oven for the first time pretty heavily. And then your best thing is just to use and use and use your cast irons. They really do become non-stick with lots of use and lots of care. The reason I chose cast iron is obviously it's going to hold up through the times. It's going to be something I can hand down to my kids, and hopefully they can hand down to my grandchildren. It does put a certain amount of iron into the food that you're using, that you're cooking in these, and I usually run on the more anemic side, so any chance I can get to add some extra iron into my diet. After I've used these, I'm done cooking with them. While they're still warm but workable, I'm going to empty out any grease that I have left in my pan, or any scraps, anything that's left in my pan. I'm going to empty it out. It's going to go outside to the animals or to the compost. Then I am going to set it in the sink while it's still hot, rinse it with hot water, and if there's any stuck on bits in it, I'm going to I have a scrub brush that I use specifically for my cast iron. I'm going to scrub that out with just hot water. I don't use soap in my cast iron. I know some people do. It's completely whatever works for you. You know what? Do it. But that's just what I do. Hot water, and that usually works for me. When these were new and I was still working on the seasoning, getting the seasoning down and using them enough to where they were non-stick, things did stick more. What I would do then was, if I couldn't get it out with a scrub brush, you can use some salt, scoured a little bit with some salt. But what I would do, what I found that really, really worked, was filling it with some hot water to cover whatever was stuck on, setting it back on the stove, getting it up to boiling, and letting it simmer for a little bit. Let it boil. And it usually will loosen up whatever is stuck enough to where you can scrub it out. But the number one best thing you can do for your cast iron is to use it. I'm going to go ahead and get started oiling these. I'm using shortening today. I think I'll look up and research some of the oils and their smoke points. And I'll put a little bit of that information down in the show notes so you can read a little bit about that to make your decision on what you want to use. I'm going to coat, get it nice and black and shiny. Oh, another thing I didn't mention, when you do wash your pans and you get them clean, you want them to be bone dry when you put them up. So immediately get them as dry as possible. I know some people will sit them back on the hot stove and let the water evaporate that way. I usually just towel dry and set them back on the stove before I put them up to store. I store mine in my oven actually, and just take them out as I need them. So that's what that looks like. Nice and oily. My hands are going to be nice and gross, and I'm going to pop that in the oven, set it just like this on the oven rack, and let that sit in there for an hour. This is the one that I've always had a little bit of problem with. I haven't got the coating, the seasoning just right on it yet. So every time that I try to cook cornbread in here, it sticks. This is gonna be the magical time. This is gonna be the time when the seasoning is gonna be perfect. When I got this thing, it was actually covered in rust. So it has been a project. A fun fact, this is one of the only 3 times that I use paper towel anymore. I use it for Windexing windows still. I use it for draining grease from fried foods and bacon. And I use it to season my cast iron. If y'all have any good alternatives for any of those, let me know. I would love to try something. Tried a few things and just not super happy with it, but y'all let me know some alternatives. I'm gonna work on getting all of these in the oven, and then I'll bring y'all back when our hour is up. This is the time that I'm going to be able to make cornbread that does not stick in this pan. Look at them. Nice and shiny.